Consider this. Aristotle, the great Greek philosopher and scientist, proclaimed in a treatise written in 350 BCE that women have fewer teeth than men. Now, we know this is nonsense today, but my friends, for almost 2,000 years, this was accepted wisdom in the Western world. And then one day, someone had the most revolutionary of ideas. Let's count them. And we can all laugh at this, but biologist and author Frederick Laloux reminds us that the scientific method, formulating a hypothesis and then testing it, it's so deeply ingrained in our 21st century thinking that, of course, we find it impossible to conceive that intelligent people would simply trust authority and not put assumptions to the test. We could conclude that people simply weren't that smart back then. But before we judge them too harshly, he writes, let's ask ourselves this. Could future generations be similarly amused by us? Is it possible? Could we too be prisoners of a simplistic way of understanding the world? Case in point, Laloux, a celebrated scientist himself, remember that, polled his colleagues with the following question. How many brains does a human being have? It's not a trick question. The common response every time he posed it is 1. And yet, Laloux says, science tells us that we have 3. And science has told us this for over 100 years, my friend. There is, of course, the massive brain in our head, and there is a smaller brain in our heart and another in our gut. The last 2 are comparatively much smaller, but they are fully autonomous nervous systems. All it takes to see them is a microscope, and a basic one at that. Why is it, Laloux asks, that medical circles and the public at large seem to be dismissing the existence of 2 other brains? And his hypothesis is that it has to do with the belief system of our time. For in a hierarchical worldview, that is the time we live in now, a hierarchical worldview, there can be only one brain in command. Just as there must, for example, be a single boss at the head of every organization, or a single pastor or priest at the head of every church, or in our Western world, a single God reigning above all high up in the sky. These are his words. Although popular parlance has long used the terminology of knowing in our hearts or knowing in our guts, having 3 autonomous brains working side by side, it just can't be possible if we believe the world needs clear hierarchies to function. Laloux closes with this. We can't understand how people in the Middle Ages believed Aristotle's claim that women had fewer teeth than men. And yet, it seems we can be prisoners of our own thoughts just as much as they were. We neglect to look carefully through the microscope because there can only be one brain. Rather, like Galileo's contemporaries refused to look through the telescope because it was unthinkable that our planet would be anything other than the center of the universe. It seems we can be prisoners of our thoughts and worldview just as much as those who have come before us. Humbling. I find it humbling. What is it about this being human that seems to transcend time, that keeps us tethered to fixed realities and beliefs and conclusions that we so desperately want to put our full faith in, that become our sole worldview, despite all that the past has taught us about evolution of thought and being and perspective and experience, that nothing in life or on earth is fixed. We know that from the micro in our lives to the macro in the universe. What is it about this being human that keeps us so fixed? Karl Marx once famously said that religion was the opium of the masses. Do you know that one? And I would like to respectfully challenge Karl this morning by saying it's certainty that is really the opium of the masses. Yes, you can apply that to religion. Those who are certain about their beliefs, there's another name for this, it's called fundamentalism. And we need not only be talking about religion, my friends, to know that certainty, fundamentalism, it is everywhere. It is in us too. Oh, the comfort that the feeling of certainty can offer in a world of such uncertainty. It is a fleeting comfort, but it is a comfort nonetheless. And who doesn't want to need a bit of that? My ministerial coach, Reverend Jake Morrell, consistently likes to annoy me with a little tidbit of his. Wisdom sounds like it depends. I hate it when he says this. I hate it. I don't hate it, but I do hate it. Wisdom sounds like it depends. We are working with the theme of pluralism this month, which is one of our dearly loved Unitarian-Universalist tenets. Our newly articulated purposes, which will be voted on in June at our General Assembly, they have a special category just for pluralism. And it is just described this way. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, theology, and experience. We covenant to learn from one another and openly explore the depth and breadth of our many wisdoms. We embrace our differences and our commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. And when Unitarian Universalists say we and our and us, my friends, they are referring to every living human being and every living creature, plant and animal on earth. This is a vision for us as Unitarian Universalists that, working alongside our other purposes, helps us dismantle that one-brained hierarchical worldview certainty and embrace a more egalitarian, many-brained, it depends perspective. And we get to say, go us, because this really is a modern-day teeth-counting exercise. It's disrupting an outdated worldview, and it's a brain buster, no pun intended. It is. I believe this is one of the most challenging and beautiful, but most challenging mandates of our faith. That we attempt to not prescribe belief in the same God or godlessness, right? That we attempt to not draw from any one doctrine, one teaching, one philosophy, history, scientific or academic pursuit to serve as our sole moral and theological compass. That we attempt to exercise reason, heart, and soul as we try for equity and justice and democratic process and beloved community. That we attempt to not place higher or lesser value, integrity, dignity, or worth on our world's community based on identity, education, socioeconomics, ideologies, or perspectives. We attempt for this. And it is, my friends, aspirational. No one of us has reached the uber-inclusive, morally pure, egalitarian, many-brained promised land. Yet. This is, as I see it, a lifelong attempt. It is our faith's hope, its premise and practice. And quite frankly, I'm glad it's hard, that it is a brain buster. The spiritual life, it should keep us on our toes. It asks us to keep looking in the microscope and the telescope, and it should be hard. The spiritual life tries for the impossible. It always has. And it says, keep seeking it, keep seeking it, keep seeking it. That open, nebulously drawn circle, as our reading described. That is the spiritual life of thought, of heart, of being, of it depends. Hard as it is to get this, this is the spiritual life. And it is this openness that allows for the expression of soul, the closing words of that beautiful reading that Jolet offered us today. And my friends, isn't that why you're here? To learn about and grow into and better express soul and spirit? To be transformed? To try for an integration of some kind of mind and heart and body wholeness in a world that every day asks us to compartmentalize these things? To seek a different kind of comfort, one of soul, as Jean sang to us? Building beloved community requires the practice of holding a myriad of contradictory beliefs and truths and experiences in one's mind, heart, and gut at the same time. This is wisdom. This is collective liberation, for it shifts us away from the hierarchical either-or thinking and being that is, after all, the crux of oppression. Think about it. Us and them, in or out, good, bad. And I have to tell you, and I think about this all the time, I don't know how to shift my polarized, singular, certain worldview without pulling up a chair for spirit, what I call God. I really don't know. a great mystery that makes the impossible possible, that helps me say it depends or maybe, and that helps me to know that I don't have to figure this all out by myself, that I can't. That is the gray area, the blend area, the integration, that open part of the Zen circle. I don't know how else to come at this, but without that chair for spirit. And I don't share that with you from a place of indoctrination, but rather invitation, my friends, so that you might ask yourselves, what is it that helps you try for the impossible? What is it? From where I stand, the stakes feel really high, and I hope none of us lay back on the laurels of our certainty in days such as this. Our faith has a liberational, healing message for this world, and I want us all to be evangelical about it. Leslie Hazelton articulates this so beautifully in her book, A Spirited Manifesto, where she reminds us about that Enzo, the Zen circle, which she says is close to perfect, but it's never there. If perfection is what you want, you can produce it any time by using a compass or a computer, but the Enzo defies such mechanistic precision. Indeed, it's often incomplete. Left slightly open as though an invitation to everything beyond it. Beautiful, right? And the beauty of the Zen circle lies precisely, or more precisely, imprecisely in its imperfection. That's what speaks to us and draws us in. A perfect circle, it's uninteresting, a closed system, right? An imperfect one vibrates with warmth, and it invites us into the moment of its creation, into that single deep exhalation. It is open, human, fallible, an expression of soul. An expression of soul. My spiritual companions, we who sing of "Let it be a dance," imperfectly sung. We who teach our kids about the multitude of ways to communicate and speak, to learn and love. We who have learned to speak the word God in an infinite amount of ways. Wow. We who say who you are and how you are just as you are belongs here. We who celebrate each other's bravery when we say yes or no in the ministries of this church, and who march in the name of love and justice for all, who sing quiet sorrow songs about coming forth to carry me home. My spiritual companions, may we know ourselves to be living embodiments of soul, whose boundaries of thought and being are pliable and open. May we know ourselves to be a people of uncertainty and hallelujah. May we know ourselves to be a people of mind and of heart and of gut wisdom, integrated and unfixed, and may we be humble, knowing that our fight for liberation depends on wholeness, not collapsing into poles or seeing the other as other than us. And may we know that this go around in life, my friends, it is merely an attempt, and that we are trying, and that this is all we can do with all the griefs of our lives, with all the joys of our lives, that this trying is all we can do, and that, my friends, it is enough, and we are in it together. That is my blessing for us all this morning. May it be so, and amen.